How's it going? It's Dave here from lansdowneroad.ie, and this is the Green Machine podcast, weekly podcast that we do, except we use pictures and everything. As always, I'm joined by Martin, who, Martin, gonna take a guess, you're out in the sun today.
I was a bit, yeah.
Very
got a great colour, I think so.
Looking very tan there, Martin.
A bit oiled. I'm rehydrating.
Yeah, I bet you are. Make sure plenty of water. And that's really delighted to announce a very special guest that we have with us this week, and none other than Eddie O'Mahony, who is, you may know him from 40 Shades of Green, and you also may know him from his wonderful Twitter feed, Ireland Soccer Shirts, and also his website, IrelandSoccerShirts.com. Eddie, thank you so much for coming on with your. I mean, I thought I had an enviable, and Martin as well had an enviable collection of Irish football memorabilia, but don't think it really comes close to yours, does it?
Well, first of all, thanks a million for having me on, lads. I had promised Martin and the London crew that if I ever did something with a book or another book, we'd certainly give you guys the first interview. So this is the world exclusive for Green, White, Orange, the history of the Republic of Ireland soccer shirt 1921 to 2021. So it's great to be here, and thanks for having me on. But yeah, I think everybody has, I suppose, a favourite Irish football shirt, particularly if that's a team that you...
I'm wearing mine. It's actually signed by, you can see it there, it's signed by Ronnie Whelan, as you can see. I never thought I'd wear it outside, so yeah, sorry.
And it's funny what you were saying, just even when you mentioned the name or the player or shirt, it's that level of nostalgia that particularly people my age, and you're probably a lot longer than me, but you know, that's the instant memory that you get, that's the instant connection. And I suppose when you're an Irish football fan, the shirt really is everything, you know, it's what you stand behind, it's what you stand for. And through the good times, and particularly sometimes, and we'll probably touch on them, some of the bad times, the shirts from the results will certainly stick with you as much as the good times. Yeah, so it's something I've been fascinated by, our football shirts, since I was a small boy, and I guess it's just I've never really shaken that off.
You call your collection the James Nolan collection, which is a really impressive collection. We're going to go through some of those in a minute. If you wouldn't mind, just explain to anybody who may be unaware who James Nolan is and why you've called that. If you could just give us a little bit of a background on it, really.
So I started the collection in 2002, and I was I came to 2012 and I went to the Euros in Poland, and I suppose a bit of the backdrop to the story very quickly. I went to Japan in the World Cup in 2002, and I think it was 21, 22, and it was my first major tournament, away, and it was just a special time. And by the time we got to Euro 2012, I had my first son was about 6 months old, and so I traveled to the tournament not only as a fan but kind of as a father as well. And I don't know if you remember, over there the news started to break that this young Irish fan was missing, and they were starting to put up announcements and hoping that would come back. And I know everybody was hoping that he would, show up after a couple of days with a great story to tell of, a cracking weekend away, or, meeting a lovely Polish colleague. And it was just devastating to find out that he tragically passed away in an accident. And I don't know why it upset me so much, but it really did. It really hit home, because I felt, pardon the cliche, that I was like I had walked in his shoes, if you get me. Like a lot of fans, I can imagine the excitement that he had. I can imagine the excitement his friends had. I can imagine how excited his family were for him, traveling to his first major tournament. And we all love our football, don't get me wrong, but certainly for me, the result has never been the be all and the end all. And while it's very important, the fact that a young lad never came home from the football, it's just something incredibly sad. So I wrote actually to the family, which is the first and only time I've ever done that. Sometimes I always heard people in the past going, I sent a letter of condolence, and I was like, I never really got that. And then I just did, because I just wanted to, I suppose, express my my condolences. And there's not much you can really do apart from say you're sorry, or that we're thinking of you, or that we're praying for you. But I was in a kind of unique position where I could marry the two things of maybe paying tribute to him, but also then maybe keeping his memory alive. So I decided that I would call the collection the James Nolan collection. And I decided that I would dedicate the collection to James's memory. And I've gotten to know his parents, Jimmy and Essie, really well over the years. Lovely, lovely people. But they invited me down to the family home in Blessington. And we spoke about James and the family and his love of football. And you could tell just how much James was loved and what a key part of the family he was. And what a loss that he was to the family, you know. So I really said I would double my efforts to try and, I don't know, do something for him. You know, Irish fans, we stick together. You know this from away trips. You know, everybody tries to look out for each other. There's a real sense of community. I think Irish people have that in times of tragedy, or in times of need. I think we all stick together. So I just felt that this was something that I could personally do that might bring some, I don't know, level of, I don't know, solace or, comfort to the Nolan family. So I kind of redoubled my efforts from then, and I tried to, I'm useless at technology. As I said, this is probably my first Zoom in the lockdown. It's taken me about 7 days to try and get all of this set up.
Looks great.
Yeah. So, and I hate looking at myself on camera as well. It's an awful thing. I'd prefer if I was just on the phone, but I said I'd redouble my efforts to try and do something special. So we took a lot of time to try and get all the exhibits photographed properly, professionally. Up till then, I'd been kind of doing it at home, and, cameras and bad lighting and stuff like that. And my friend Eiley came on board, and she kindly revamped the website at IrelandSoccerShirts.com to make it more user-friendly. And we put it into the categories so that you can visit the website and kind of have a journey right the way through from 1921 to 2021. And it's really been a privilege to keep James's name alive and associated with the team he loves to support. And ultimately, I suppose, when I started this project, I felt that the success of it was going to be if there was an actual museum. And it turns out that the real success of this, or the real purpose for it, was nothing to do with an actual museum at all. It was keeping James's name alive. So as this project is kind of winding down now, I'm delighted that we're still talking about him coming up on his 9th anniversary. And I really hope, please God, that we still remember him and he can still be part of the conversation around Irish football going forward. Yeah,
no, absolutely. I mean, lovely tribute. I mean, we've all got our stories going away from home, and yeah, definitely away. I think we were talking yesterday when we met for the first time, albeit virtually. When I think I went to Ireland, France, and I got tucked up by the travel agent, and two complete strangers took me under the wing. There's always that real connection with just Irish people when they go abroad.
Well, there is a story you were saying about the connection. When I went to Japan in 2002, we watched the second leg in a pub in town because we couldn't get out to Tehran, and it was 5 or 6 was watching the game, and we're like, if we qualify, we're all going. Nailed on, nobody's bottling out. And we qualified, and I started ringing around and trying to organise things, and slowly but surely the lads started backing out of it. So eventually, well, they kept on saying, we'll go in 2006 to the World Cup, and you get a camper van and you do 3 weeks in Germany. I was like, no way, lads, this is once in a lifetime chance. I'm 21, I'm single, I've no kids, I am gone. Don't care what you say, I may never get another chance to do it again. Turns out, wasn't the worst decision I ever made, because we're 19 years this month from a World Cup, and we could be another few years waiting. So definitely the right choice to go. But funny story, we obviously knocked Holland out, and there was a rumor going around that the FAI bought the flights that the Dutch FA had commandeered from KLM. So my trip over involved an overnight in Amsterdam before the 5 o'clock in the morning flight to Tokyo. And I didn't know anyone going. So I met a couple of lads on the flight from Dublin to Amsterdam, just chatting at the check-in. There was a shuttle bus that brought us to the hotel, just said, see you to the lads. probably about 7:30, I thought to myself, right, up at 4 a.m, big flight, long couple of weeks ahead, get the head down, something to eat, make sure everything's organised, and I'll be fresh as a daisy for the morning. And next minute, knock on the door, the 2 lads are outside, right, we're going into Amsterdam for a couple of pints, you're coming. So there went my quiet night. Went out, there was maybe 6 or 7 lads who had never met each other before, and we just had an absolute stonker of a night in Amsterdam. I think I got in at 3:45 or something like that. Had to just throw the bags in together and just. But that's the kind of sense of community and spirit that is there with Irish fans, and it's a very special part of when you travel away from home.
Yeah, no, it is. I've been there. I've had a few dodgy nights myself as well, and no, it's can't wait to get back to it. Really can't. I'm sure, Martin, you could. You met your wife, Martin, on an Ireland trip as well, did you?
I met my wife in Cyprus, yeah, on an Ireland away trip, yeah. So 3 kids later, that's what you can get following Ireland. No, but yeah, we've all got our stories. Traveling around the world watching Ireland, and like you said, Eddie, it is a case of like camaraderie and everyone getting together and looking after each other. The amount of times I've seen people be looked after, and you think, oh, jeez, your mate's in a bad state. They'll say, like, don't know who he is, but, we're looking after him, kind of thing. It's a nice thing.
Yeah. And there's also that element as well, I suppose, of the fans' reputation as well for good behaviour, sometimes boisterous, but there's certainly an element of maybe self-regulation as well, in terms of how you behave and how you act. Because I always say about the jersey, of course, the players who wear it, they're representing us, and it's an absolute honour for them to be able to get to wear that shirt. We'd all crawl over broken glass just to wear it once. Never mind the chance to miss a call up or to, anything like that. It's kind of alien to us. But it's just as important with the fans who wear the shirt, that when you go to a match or when you go away from home, whenever you're wearing that shirt, you're representing the team as well, so it's really important that people respect that and have a great time and enjoy themselves. But you don't want to be letting the side down either with really, really bad behaviour. So yeah, that's part of it too.
Just looking here at some of the shirts, I went through now. Anyone that knows me, I love Adidas. Sorry if people from Umbro are listening. And I'm just looking at some of these shirts you have here now. I've taken a few select. I had to compile it, so I get to choose. Sorry, lads.
It's your show.
Yeah, did you hear that, Martin? My shit, no. This beauty here from 1986. Now, obviously, the one on the right was never worn. And I actually had a row with somebody on the page a while ago, Eddie. I remember I got that picture and was like, look at that, that's lovely. And they were like, oh, that's a phony, the one on the right.
Yeah.
I was like, it's not a fake. It was just back in the day, obviously, the away version of the home version was just like an inverted version of it. Like, that's just what they did. And often that looks fantastic. I was trying to explain to them that crest was used. I think it was up until the Icelandic tournament, wasn't it? Or around that time. And they were like, no, that crest isn't, and there's no opal on it and all this kind of stuff. And yeah, I remember I had a bit of it was back and forth, like had a row with a follower of Lansdowne Road, and I was trying to convince them that it was a real shirt.
No, I can assure you the one on the right, the white one is a real shirt. The one on the left it's quite a historic shirt that you picked. That is Liam Brady's shirt, and he wore that shirt against Wales in March 1986.
Jack's first game.
Jack Charlton's first game.
Yeah.
And the famous banner in the stand, "Go Home Union Jack." That was the first time we wore an Adidas shirt also. So and Liam was captain for the game as well. So that's a fairly historic one that you've picked there to start.
Not a lot of people realise that Mick Byrne actually picked that team because Jack didn't know who the players were. So that's why you had Mick Robinson up front and all that. Liam Brady with the new book, we're sort of skirting in and out there, but with the new book, Liam has actually done your forward, hasn't he, for green, white, and orange? Yeah,
I mean, my fascination, as I said, with the Irish football shirt started when I was a very young kid, and when I was growing up in Ireland, as I said, I might be a little bit older than you. Maybe people who are watching might remember this. live football was actually something of a treat, because in my house, certainly, we didn't have a television for a while because my dad was a bit funny about that. I don't know why. But when we did have a television, I joke about it with my own kids. The television was nearly as deep as it was high. Like, it took 4 men to lift the television. And
I remember, yeah.
No, joking aside, we only had 2 channels. So it was RT1 and RT2. So you didn't knock on Sky for Monday Night Football or, Thursday Europa League. Sports Stadium on a Saturday, maybe you saw an English Premier League game or an English league game. Mostly they showed Liverpool at the time, obviously huge Irish connection. But when I was probably 4 or 5, I remember watching, it sounds very mundane now, but the camera, even the quality of the pictures were really poor. And we'd go away to play against someone like Bulgaria on a Tuesday night from Sofia, and the floodlights didn't seem very bright, and the stadium was always full with soldiers, and George Hamilton was commentating down like he was locked in his shoebox somewhere, and
on a phone, yeah.
And then the sound would go for a bit and everything like that. I just thought it was the most fascinating, exotic thing you've ever seen in your life. I just couldn't believe it. And back then there was no internet, so again, as a kid or a young person growing up, your only access to players besides seeing them on a match was in, say, Shoot or Match magazines, where they might do a little segment. So you didn't know what watch they wore or where they went on holidays or what their wife looked like or what cars they had. It just wasn't there. So I remember having a picture of Liam Brady cut out from one of these magazines on my wall. And it's a kind of famous picture of him. He's in Lansdowne Road, and probably about 1980, 81. And he's in the lovely green home kit, long sleeve, which I'm an absolute devotee of. All football shirts should be long sleeved, but the lovely white collar with the gold stripes and the long sleeves, the thick white cuffs and the white shorts and the stripes and the big green socks. And he was wearing a pair of Patrick football boots, just black with the 2 little stripes down the side of it. And he's got his foot on the ball and he's looking up and he's about to pass. And it's just an image frozen in my mind. It's like the most coolest guy you've ever seen in your life. So that picture was up on my wall. I was just fascinated with it. I didn't know at the time that there was replica football kits, because back in the late 70s and early 80s, you're wearing one now. And if you go to any park in London or Dublin or Galway, you'll see your kids playing in GAA shirts, in Barcelona shirts, Brazil shirts, every type of shirt you can imagine from every player. But when I was growing up, that just wasn't an issue. So my mum brought me to a sports shop in Dunleary, and we walked in. I didn't know what we were getting. I thought maybe shoes or something. And out came this full replica kit, jersey, shorts, socks that Brady's wearing in the picture. I swear to God, I took my clothes off in the middle of the shop. She was like, "No, go into the change room. Go into the change room." I was like, "No, this is going on now." I couldn't wrap my head around the fact that I was actually wearing the same gear, same shirt that Liam Brady was wearing. And then out came the tiny pair of Patrick football boots, and that was it. Mind blown. I think the poor woman had to wash it every night while I was asleep, because I wore that thing to death. And I spoke about it before. Sometimes kids nowadays, you can get a superhero costume. So you can be Batman or whoever it is you want to be. I just wanted to be an Irish football player. There was a real sense of belonging, or this is who I'm from, or this is my tribe, or, I don't know. It was a real light bulb moment. I was like, yeah, do you know what? I'm Irish. Okay, that's it. So from then on, Liam's always held a big place in my heart. My dad, as I mentioned to you earlier on, moved over to England in the late 60s, early 70s. And as a young man from Ireland there, he started to go to watch Arsenal because they had a lot of the young Irish players there. And I always remember growing up, anytime my dad saw Brady, it was just reverential. He says, "Oh, you want to see this, you have to see this fella play," and everything like that. So fast forward to writing this book, and I was hoping to get somebody with real status to write the forward of the book. I was so lucky and grateful. on 40 Shades of Green that Robbie Keane very, very kindly wrote the foreword for the book. And I have to say, not only Robbie, but the Keane family have been so supportive of me, of this project, but also the Nolan family. I know you flashed up one of the visuals there of the LA Galaxy shirt that, I don't know if you remember, yeah, that one there, that after Robbie scored for the Galaxy, he ran over to the sideline and he had this shirt prepared, and he held it up to the cameras just around the time of James Nolan's funeral. So Robbie's been a great support to the Nolan family, which a lot of people, like a lot of footballers who do things, don't see, and they don't see that particular side to him or to his family. So they were really supportive. So I couldn't really, in all fairness, go back to Robbie again. I'm sure he would have. I'm sure he wouldn't have said no. But I just wanted to. Robbie's an absolute legend of Irish football. You know, top scorer, most appearances, captain. You know, when we were all grown up, we all wanted a career like Robbie Keane had for Ireland. But with this book stretching back from 1921 to 2021, and maybe for a bigger audience, I was looking for somebody from maybe a different generation, you know, who could do it. And when you think back to the list of Irish players for the last 100 years, there's not too many will top the bill other than Liam Brady. So I was very fortunate that I got to get in contact with Liam, and Liam's been beyond brilliant. There's a nice kind of subplot to the story as well, why Liam was involved. A lot of people don't know that the very first official game that the Irish team played back in 1927 in Lansdowne Road was against Italy. And Liam Brady's great uncle Frank was the captain of the Irish team that day. So my book is looking to tell the story of Irish football from 1921 to 2021, and we have a real life, I suppose, connection there with Liam Brady's great uncle. Liam's brother played in the 60s for Ireland as well, and Liam obviously went on to have the incredible career he had, not only with his country but also with his club. And I suppose when we talk about international footballers and Irish footballers, it's probably forgotten by a lot of people that Liam left Arsenal after winning an FA Cup to go to Italy, which is a move that not many Irish players have made, and particularly back then. And he didn't just go to any old club. You know, he went to Juventus, and when he went to Juventus, he didn't just half play well. You know, he went and won the league with them, I think, twice, and famously scored the winning penalty, even though Liam knew and the fans knew that he was about to be released by Juventus because they'd signed Platini, and there was a rule stating that they could only have one foreign player at the time. So, I mean, for his career and for a player of his stature to come on board and write the foreword of the book is a real, I'm really honoured that the boy who grew up with his picture on the wall, now my name is somewhere near his, which tickles me pink, really, to be honest, because his name should always be above mine, but I'll take it this time.
No, I get that. I think it was telling you off air. I remember I was flying over for an Ireland match. I just moved over here, and I was getting Aer Lingus flight, and I saw him sitting in the same departures lounge getting the same flight, and I was afraid to approach him. I was just afraid to approach him. I thought, wow, it's Liam Brady. I was in awe of him, and I caught the very late part of his career growing up, but I was just in awe of Liam. He's the Risk London president, isn't he, Martin? He is,
yeah. He's the honorary president of the club. Yeah, he's really good support of us, and he's been at a lot of our events and stuff. Yeah, but I know what you're saying about like kind of reverential when you're in his company, because he does have this aura about him. He doesn't suffer fools. I know he done a Q&A with us one time, and someone asked him. Someone kind of was quite damning about a couple of Ireland players who kind of come through under him, but Anthony Stokes, it was, I think, said, he kind of blew his career with Ireland stuff, and he wasn't having it at all. And he said, like, a lot of the people with respect in the audience here would love to have had the career Anthony Stokes had for Ireland and club performances as well. So, yeah, no, he's very loyal to people, and
he
I think,
is. And
like, yeah.
No, I was just going to say, sorry, Martin, that he does have a presence. One of the I suppose side things of this project is I've been very lucky to meet all of the Irish players and they've all been brilliant. But certainly, the two Keanes, Robbie and Roy, certainly have a presence. There's an aura that comes probably with being that good.
Rage with Roy.
Nah, no.
I've never met Roy, so don't know. Probably won't now anyway.
Certainly with Liam as well. You just, as Martin said, I don't think he suffers fools, and they just have a presence. But I think I told the story before when I have Roy Keane's shirt that he would have worn against Spain, possibly if he'd made the World Cup in 2002, and I wanted to get it signed. And I had a contact who was working in the FAI at the time, and she was lovely. And I said, listen, is there any chance, at the next international window, I can give you this shirt and you can get Roy to sign it? I said, it would have been the one he would have worn in the World Cup in 2002, but will you make sure that you tell him what it is and tell him that it's for this? And she was like, you must be joking. There's absolutely no way I am going to speak to Roy Keane about something like that. So she did tell me when they were going to be training and at what time and stuff. They were out in Gannon Park, I think, at the time. And so I went out to the hotel in Malahide really early. And I had, I think it was winter time, it was around then, but I had the kind of the padded coat that you'd wear for training and stuff like that anyway, just as a fan. And I was standing at the steps outside and I was told that Jim McDonough and Roy leave a bit earlier than the rest of the team. They have a private car, a sponsor car, and they drive to the thing and they set up the coaching thing maybe an hour early. So I stand outside waiting for Roy, and out comes Roy, and I went to approach him, I said, hi, Mr. Keane, I have your shirt here that you would have worn, and explained to myself, but he just gave me that stare. The stare. And I was just thinking, oh my God. I as you probably guess, don't have a problem talking, and it's very seldom that I'm stuck for words. But I was bolted to the ground. I mean, I just didn't know what the next word was going to come out of my. I was like, and he looked at me and went, I can't do his accent really well, but he gave me those piercing saying, he went, if it's my shirt, how do you have it? And I just, you could see the vein on the side of the temple, and I felt like the referee was a David Ellery or something, at Old Trafford when they were chasing. This isn't how this goes. And then you just see this tiny little smile at the side of his face because he was waiting to see McDonough's reaction, and he's trying not to break his shite laughing. So then goes, of course I'll sign it for you. And then he had a few words about the collection and stuff like that. But again,
fantastic,
real presence, real legend, and but also I think, like a lot of these people, they're public property from an early age. The likes of Robbie Keane was a superstar from 16, 17 at Coventry, and to then go to Milan. These people are, like I said, public property from an early age, and they probably develop a facade, a front that you see, and what you maybe see in the snippets of the media and their interviews and things like that doesn't tally with the person they are probably in real life, or certainly that I've come across them. Any of these people aren't the stereotypical what people say or what a lot of fans say about them. So I've been very lucky to meet a lot of my heroes, and they're all very humble. They're all very appreciative of playing for Ireland. I met Richard with his shirt one day, and I think he was more embarrassed. He was like, "What are you doing with that?"
I'm waiting for you to sign it.
Yeah, no, I didn't know. Funny enough, Alan Kelly is the only person who's ever going to sign this shirt, and he
wrote the thing on it. Yeah,
5. So that shirt will never be signed.
No, that's fantastic. I remember watching that. I mean, my favorite player for Ireland was Ronnie Whelan, and it was funny. I'm from just around the corner where he's from, in Finglas, and originally, and I'd never met him. I just never met him, and I saw that he was doing a signing with Terry McDermott, Steve McMahon, and Alan Kennedy up in Norwich. So I convinced a family member to drive me up to to Norwich, and I promised them a Wetherspoons meal, cheap and cheerful, and we drove all the way up. And I was going to get a hotel, and the hotel was
Is that where he signed the shirt?
That's where he signed the shirt, yeah. And I went up and I had.
How did you manage to get him to sign it? Normally you kind of go, sorry, could you sign my shirt? What do you do? Just
No, I didn't do that. I mean, it was off. I mean, it's probably too tight in me anyway. Probably would have. But it's a bit snug, isn't it? It's not very comfortable, especially in 30-degree weather. But and I just went up, and no disrespect to McDermott, Kennedy, or McMahon, but I was just like, I don't really want to talk to you. I want to talk to Ronnie. It was the night after we lost 5-1 to Denmark, and I remember he was doing commentary, and I was just like totally in awe. I was like, Jesus, and then hand him the jersey, and it's like, yeah, Ronnie, what did you make of the match last night? I didn't know what to say to him, and he just turns around and goes, yeah, it was fucking shite, wasn't it? And I was like, yes, it was. And I was commentating on for RT. He goes, yeah, I was watching RT. We're just chatting away about it. And he signed a jersey for me. And I was just like, that's me. It was just one of those moments, And yeah, I remember.
I went to, myself and my friend Paul went to Macedonia to see the game, I think in 2011. And don't ask me how we were there. I think Whedon was staying in the same hotel with Houghton. And there was a few drinks the night before, and they were just lovely guys, and they were there, and they were signing shirts and everything. But we were proper drunk, by silly o'clock. And Ronnie walked past us, and he said, "Boy, you two, you're pissed. Match tomorrow, bed." Myself and Paul were like, "Ronnie, you even said go to bed."
Yeah, you're not gonna argue.
That was it,
You have you showed us off there. You mentioned his name. You have his jersey. Very famous jersey.
I brought.
Let's see it.
I brought a couple of ones along. It's hard to do it over things. They're all obviously on IrelandSoccerShirts.com.
Oh yeah.
Site. So this one is probably a shirt that needs no introduction.
Yeah, and well,
can you give me the year?
Well, it's actually kind of. I've actually got a mug. In fact, from that particular tournament, tournament there.
That's Ray Houghton's shirt that he wore against England.
Fantastic.
In Stuttgart in 1988, and you asked me to bring along 2 special shirts.
Oh yeah.
I know you have a bit of an Adidas fetish.
I do.
So I said I'd bring this one as well.
Amazing. Now, if you're an Ireland fan watching this, and you're around our age, that clearly needs no introduction. It's only ever worn once. I remember being a school kid watching that coming home from school, and it was on, and I actually just caught the beginning of the penalty shootout, because obviously the rest of the match was just pure boring, and I'll never forget that. The save by Bonner from Timofty. How did you manage to get that? I mean, did Packy have that shirt, and did he?
It's one of the questions I always get asked. People say, "How did you get all these shirts?" And I always say to people, you'd never ask a magician how he does his tricks. You just.
Is Packy aware you have that shirt, Eddie?
I'm sure he is. I haven't been accused of anything yet, but I suppose over the years, the website has, and the museum, and I suppose the Twitter feed has made people aware of what the project was, and really what the project is about, and what it's always been about, is honouring those who've worn our shirt since 1921. I think by the end of this year, we'll have played 592 senior international games, and something like 512 or 513 men will have worn our shirt in that time. So you're part of a really exclusive club when you join the Irish international team. There's over 200 different museums in Ireland dedicated to everything from the GAA, which have done an absolutely fantastic job with their history and heritage in Croke Park. And I suppose one of the sadnesses for me as this project comes to a close now is that we never managed to kind of get an Irish football museum off the ground. As I said, there's over 200 museums that GAA, music, religion, art, literature, all really important. Transport, leprechauns, even in Dublin. But don't tell me that the game of football hasn't influenced and shaped this country in a huge way. And I'm not just talking about the moments like Ray and Ronnie and Packy and Richard, but we all played it in the yard. We played it on the road. Football touches all of our lives. If you go around the country, look at how many people participate in the sport. Ladies, underage, League of Ireland. It's a huge, huge part of our country, not just the national team. I obviously use the national team's profile, I suppose, as ultimately that's the biggest draw. But I mean, there's plenty of people around Ireland and certainly the UK who have collections of match programs, tickets, League of Ireland clubs, and the national football exhibition took place just before COVID, and unfortunately was interrupted. And that visited a number of around Ireland, and I was very proud to donate a lot of the items that was used there to it. But it was incredible to visit different parts of the country and see people come out who said, "Listen, I actually have this shirt. This was my grandfather's, or this is my uncle's," or something like that. And there's so much history that's sitting in attics or bags, or that isn't seen, that I really wanted to try and, I suppose, start a discussion about why it should be important to have a national football museum. And I suppose one of my disappointments about this project as it comes to a close is that, say, for example, when the Aviva Stadium was being built, that some sort of museum feature or something, it's an architectural wonderment when you go to the Aviva Stadium. I know a lot of people just go there on match days, but if you ever visit when it's empty, or if you ever do the tour that when it was on, it's an incredible stadium. And I just don't know how they couldn't have managed to fit something in around that. I suppose Dalymount Park is also about to be redeveloped, the spiritual home of Irish football. It doesn't look like there's going to be any plans for an Irish football museum there either. The centenary of the Football Association of Ireland has just started. We're celebrating 100 years. And it's just, I suppose, it's one of the sadder elements for me that we never managed to find a home or create something, not just to honor the past, but to inspire the next generation of fans, and other institutions and other people have managed to look after their history, I think, a lot better than we have. So that's always been the goal for me here, to start that discussion, or to drive that discussion, or ultimately, as the project finishes, to leave a collection maybe that somewhere down the road that people will be proud of or enjoy, or something like that. I don't know what people will think of it ultimately, but it was to leave something behind to say this was our first 100 years. So that was the project in a nutshell.
No, 100%. I mean, it beggars belief that we don't have, with the rich history. And obviously, if you read books in it, or you watch Green is the Colour, and you see the struggle of Irish football, especially breaking away from the IFA in 1921 and then becoming recognised and having to deal with the English FA, the Scottish FA, and all these kind of things. Like, it's a brilliant story, and a really, Irish football, we've said it here, like, it's fascinating. It's much more interesting than English football. Like, because
I thought I knew a bit. I thought I knew a bit about it. It turns out I really didn't. And what I'm trying to do with the Green, White, Orange book, I suppose, is to, bring that history and make it, I don't want to say bite-sized, because that's not fair, but there's huge, Cormac Moore's written an incredible book about the break in the Irish football family, for want of a better word. And that's incredible, the detail that he's gone into. So I'm only sort of piggybacking and making it maybe a lighter version, but to actually tell the story from the actual fabric that was worn at the time. So we have some incredible items. The 1924 cap that was issued for the Irish team at the Olympic Games in Paris. a lot of people don't realize that was our first ever game. We've a 1929 and a 1936 goalkeeper shirt, which is just unreal to see the big heavy woolen material, the turtleneck. I can't imagine how a player would have worn it trying to play in goal, never mind on a warm day. There's also a cultural history to it. A lot of the shirts were made in Ireland. So the shirts were actually produced in Ireland for many years, and that only stopped maybe in the late 90s, I believe. So even shirts like these, you can actually see on the label, I know they were made in Ireland.
I believe this one as well was made in Ireland. I'm not going to take it off and have a look because that would just see our viewership go right down.
Yeah.
But no one needs to see that. No. I mean, let's just have a look at some of these jerseys yet again. Adidas fetish. Now you were talking about your first shirt. This is my first shirt, and this is from Italia '90. The white World Cup one on the right hand side. Is that not Quinn's shirt? Is it? Is that the one?
I was very lucky at the Niall. He stepped away now, but for a number of months he was involved with the new FAI, and at the event in Dundalk in February of last year, or before the lockdown happened. I was there just as part of the collection, and as a surprise, or as a thank you, which really was a surprise, I was presented with Niall presented me with a couple of items. He presented me with his shirt and shorts that he wore against England in 1988, and he also gave me his shirt from the game against Holland in 1990 when he scored for the museum collection. So he's not the only player. It was an incredible gesture by Niall, incredibly humbling for me. And I guess that's the kind of thing that I hope will be preserved, and that kids in 100 years' time, in 21 will go, whoa, that was a player called Niall Quinn.
And you wore black boots.
He scored a goal against Holland, and who was Mick McCarthy, and who was that goalkeeper, Packy Bonner? Names that to us are legendary, but over the course of time maybe fade away. And one of the important bits of the story that I try and focus on in the Green, White, Orange book is that we've spoken a lot about the players that we all know, and who will never be forgotten, the Dunns and the Houghtons and the Whelans and the Bonners. But there's a lot of players that gave just as much, particularly back in the 20s, 30s, 40s and 50s and 60s and 70s, travelling back to Ireland to play, travelling in poor conditions around the world to play matches. They certainly weren't doing it for any monetary gain. They were doing it for the pride in their shirt and the pride in their jersey. And one of the important things, I think, and I know we're going to speak about Stephen Kenny, that he touches on a lot, is pride. It's pride in your country. It's pride in your jersey. It's whatever you're earning and whatever club you're at. That's great, but this is equally as important in your footballing career. And we've such a small pool of players. You can see what happens when we have an injury or something like that. But if players start to drop out because they don't want to play, or if they lose that pride of playing for our country, then we're going to be in real bother for the next couple of years. So I guess it's trying to reinforce or reinstill why it is that playing for your country is so important, and the gap, I suppose, with modern footballers' wages, and good luck to them. If you can get it, brilliant. But that may see the attraction for international football diminish, and that would be a real shame for a country like us if 10% of the players said, you know what, nah, it's not worth it for me. I'd rather rest up because of a big league game, the following Wednesday. We're in real trouble if that happens.
Which is with the project, who I'm amongst friends, Eddie, especially Martin there, who I caught having a little swig of a beer when the graphic went up. Sorry, I was just laughing at that.
Came back
Who with the project? Who's been the most helpful, and who's been maybe not as cooperative as
No, listen, I'm I have to be straight up the line here and say that I've been so fortunate that all of the Irish players, both past and present, have been so good with their time, with their generosity. You know, I reached out to Shay Given today, and he retweeted the launch of the book for me and things like that. One of the players who has been particularly good, and I know you did an episode from a couple of weeks ago, was Alan McLaughlin.
Yes.
Everyone knows about Alan's goal. That's written in history. I'm very fortunate that I have, as part of the James Nolan collection, the boots Alan was wearing.
There they are.
That goal, there they are. And God rest him, he passed away far too soon. But Alan, besides scoring that goal, was just an absolute gentleman. And I have letters and stuff that he sent me. He was old school. I actually have letters that he sent me wishing me well or sending over items. But he'd always send a Twitter message or a DM privately to say, listen, I like that, or well done. And it was just something really special for someone to reach out like that. And I have to be honest, I could tell you so many stories about the kindness and generosity of Irish players. As I mentioned, Robbie Keane, all these players signing stuff. One of my favorite stories is about Paul McGrath. And I know when I told my friend this, he didn't believe me, but I have Paul's shirt from the game against Holland in 1990, the white one that you were showing there. And I wanted him to get it signed. So I tried to reach out to Paul through social media. And it's just a hit and hope. You never know what's going to happen. And a couple of days later, my phone rang and it was a number I didn't know. So I just answered the phone. I was like, how are you? I said, Eddie. I said, yeah. And he goes, how you doing? It's Paul McGrath here. So I was like, yeah, lads, good one. I like where you're going with that one. That's good. But I'm not going to fall for that one. So I was like, would you ever? And he goes, no, seriously. It's Paul McGrath here. I got your number from a friend of yours. And he said, you're looking to have that shirt signed, aren't you? And I was like, wow. And I was like, it's like talking to God. I was like, yeah, God, if you could, it'd be brilliant. And he lives in Wexford at the time. And his mum, Lord Rester, lived in Crumlin. And Paul said to me, listen, I come up and visit my mum on a Tuesday. So he said, best thing you could do. So I was thinking, I tell you what I could do. I could meet you on the Wexford dual carriageway somewhere, the petrol station. I don't want to interrupt you or take you out of your way and like that. And he goes, no, couldn't be doing that. And I was like, oh, okay. And I said, tell you what you do. There's my mom's address. Come for lunch.
Wow.
So I'm sitting there going, you don't know, you never know where I'm going. So over to Keeper Road in Dublin, and I had lunch with Paul McGrath and his mum, Lord Rester. If you think Paul McGrath's a legend, you should have met his mother. An absolute legend. And she actually turned around to me at one stage. I thought I'd try and be nice, and so I went and stopped at this kind of fancy delicatessen to bring nice rolls and meat and so just to try and make something like that. So
3-piece suit.
Well, no, yeah, well, I didn't know what do you wear when you're meeting it. So anyway, we're sitting around the table anyway, and she actually turned around to me and she said, Eddie, he's just a person. Close your mouth, because I was just sitting there like that.
Yeah, that's fair. I think we'd all be guilty of that. Yeah,
it took me a couple of minutes to warm up, and the beautiful thing about it, the reason I treasure that as well is that he didn't change. Paul didn't change how he was with his mum or with me. And I said, I'm sitting here having lunch with Paul McGrath and his mum. I was like, that's just as good as it gets. So that's one example, but all of the players have been so good. As I said, Robbie Keane, Shay Given, Darren Randolph, a lot of the players have been so good and always willing to sign a shirt or help. Mick McCarthy in particular, who I'm a self-appointed Mick McCarthy fan. I make no bones.
You and me both, Eddie. You and me both.
I'll leave.
Yeah,
Not
I
because
make
I
no
love
bones.
Mick. I love Mick, but I'll leave you to it. You do love
Oh
him.
yeah, yeah. I make
Big
no.
boy shit.
Yeah, I make no bones about my my love for Mick. But funny story. When I went to Japan that time, we were staying in Chiba City, in where the team were staying, and they had a welcoming ceremony in the kind of little Irish village that they had set up. And I was there in my Ireland gear, so I probably the same shorts and t-shirt that the players would be wearing. And it was a welcoming committee of the Lord Mayor and some children from the local village, and they were performing local Japanese dances and music and stuff like that. And the Irish team were to go on stage, and there was a presentation. It was in the middle of the morning, like there wasn't many people around. It was just one of these kind of functions that you do. So I'm standing there watching it, and the Irish team come out, and we're just standing there. And I said, "Hey, Mick, can you sign my shirt?" And he was like, "Yeah, no problem." We just got chatting, and he said, "Who are you over with?" And I said, "I just came on my own." And he said, "You came all the way over here on your own?" I was like, "Absolutely, wasn't going to miss it." So just as the ceremony is about to start, Mick lifts open the rope thing, that prevents people from coming in. And the Japanese are so polite, you don't need ropes or anything like that, because nobody breaks the rules. And he ushered me in. The security guard came over and he's like, no, he's okay. He's with the team. I just, wow, that's that's again one of those moments that'll stay with me. And the first shirt in the collection actually came from Stephen Reid in Japan. We played Germany and Steve Staunton was 100 cap. And obviously Robbie scored the famous goal. And that night in the hotel bar, it turned into a bit of a session. So pretty much the entire Irish team, their families, and maybe 40 supporters were in this tiny bar in the New Otani Hotel in Chiba. And we drank till about 5 o'clock in the morning, singing all sorts of songs. And as we were leaving into the night, Stephen Reid was a friend of Richard Sadler. They played together at Millwall, and I had gone to school with Richard in St. Benilda's. So I had just been chatting to Stephen at the bar, and I said, I know Richard, and we were chatting away. And I was wearing a Celtic jersey that night, and we actually, this is how drunk we were. Stephen said to me, swap shirts. He said, he liked the Celtic jersey. So I was like, take what you want. There you go. And he gave me his just issued training t-shirt, that they were all wearing after the game. I was made up, that was brilliant. Yeah. And as we're walking out of the bar at 5:30 or something, he said, I'd say he had a few drinks as well, but he said, that wasn't a fair swap. And I went, no, geez, no, I'm done. He goes, hang on there a minute. So he went up to his room and came back about 10 minutes later with his jersey from the game.
Wow.
Said, that's for you. And I was sitting there going, so that ultimately, when I came home and bored enough people to death with that story, I thought I would give it to the football museum, because as much as I love a shirt, I always say about these shirts that they're not mine. I didn't score the winner against England in 1988. I sure as hell didn't save the penalty against Timofte, and I absolutely didn't get my face cut open in Moscow. These are part of our history, so I'm only minding them. And there's a Swiss watch company that has their famous phrase that you never really own an Irish football shirt, you simply mind it for the next generation. And that's really what this project is about. It's about minding some of our history, hopefully promoting the fact that it's important, and ultimately maybe inspiring the next Richard Dunn or the next Robbie Keane or whoever it is that's going to wear the shirt. So that's just a couple of examples. But the team and the players, I can't fault any of them. They've always been brilliant.
Oh, fantastic! Just looking here, some more of the obscure jerseys. It's Adidas, of course it is. I mean, look at that. I mean, I know there's a picture, isn't there, with the orange one on the left. Jerry Payton wearing that one. The one in the middle is gorgeous. 86. I mean, I know the one on the right. I don't even know what that one is, Eddie. What's that one on the right? The red one. Looks like a...
So before we went in 1988, in 1989, before we went, 87, there was a famous photograph taken of the Irish team in their in their shirts on the front cover of a record. And the goalkeepers are wearing red shirts, both Peyton and Bonner. And this shirt is actually the red goalkeeper shirt, the number 16 one from that era. It was never actually worn, but that was the away or the alternate shirt, because if you remember, pretty much Bonner wore yellow most of the time.
That's right.
And the only reason he wore the grey one against Romania was because of the colour clash.
Yeah.
That was the one and only time it was actually worn. But it's funny, the other shirt you showed there from Peyton against Luxembourg, they're both Luxembourg, the orange and the yellow one. The orange one was Peyton's one and only appearance in the 1987 qualifying campaign. We beat Luxembourg at home 2-1. And it's funny, I know we're going to touch on Stephen Kenny, but from some of my history that I was doing and research and stuff like that, people are talking about, our results and where goals are going to come from and all things like that. That game against Luxembourg, I know we recently lost to Luxembourg, and that came as a shock to a lot of people. But in that game in 87, we won 2-1. Paul McGrath scored, I think, in the 73rd minute with a header. And if he hadn't scored, there was no Euro 88. And you can imagine the grief Jack Charlton would have gotten from, English World Cup winner, losing to Luxembourg. We would have never qualified for 88. There's a good chance Jack would have gotten the chop, because things weren't going well. So I've always said that one goal has always defined our Irish football history. And I was trying to list off a few of them, especially when people talk about Kenny and stuff like that and how far away we are. Literally, one goal in our history has always been vital. So 1937, we played Norway in a playoff, 1 goal. 1953, we lost to France, 1 goal. 1975 against the Soviet Union, a goal was all that was in it. 1984, when we played Russia at home, Walsh scored a goal. We won 1-0. Massive result for us back then. When we beat Brazil, Liam Brady scored 1-0. Lawrenson versus Scotland, McKay versus Bulgaria, Houghton versus England, Whelan versus Russia, Wim Kieft when he knocked us out, Sheedy versus England, Quinn versus Holland, Scalati versus Ireland, McLaughlin versus Northern Ireland, Houghton versus Italy, Alder versus Norway, Stavros Macedonia. I could go on and go on and go on. One goal has always been the difference in Irish football. That's the fine margin that Kenny's at. And if you look at Stephen's last 11 games, take away the England game, 1 goal would have swung all those results. So really, own hand when we played Belgium in 1981, I think it was, and the referee did us that night. Again, a draw would have been good, but 1 goal. And really, it's all going to turn, like for a lot of managers at Stephen, with 1 goal. And we always talk about not having enough goals or scoring enough goals from everywhere. And yes, since Robbie Keane's retired, we don't have all those goals. And of course, we're missing a fox in the box. And if you don't have a fox, you're really going to struggle. But the big thing is where the goal is going to come from other players in the current squad. And when you look back at Jack Charlton's era, so many of those games, 1 goal was all that really made the difference. And when you look at the players who retired, the players in the 40 to 60 cap bracket, a lot of those guys finished up on 5 and 6 goals. Now, it doesn't seem like a huge amount, but if you look at our current squad and our strongest available squad and look at the players in that cap range, we're nowhere near them all having 6 or 7 goals between them. And Shane Duffy's chipped in, but I mean, we really need, Stephen really needs to get those goals from somewhere else. And I know I'm unapologetically a big backer of every Irish football manager. I think, the word support literally means to hold up. So I'm really positive for what Stephen's trying to do. I can see where he's coming from. But you can also understand the previous managers, Martin O'Neill, Mick McCarthy, Trapattoni, saying, do you know what? I haven't got a blueprint for bringing younger players through. I don't have the time to give 2 campaigns to it. Ultimately a manager's based on their results. So you could see why they adopted the tactics and played the football that they did. And again, when you get closer to the end of some of the results, you know, when Shane Long scored against Germany, John O'Shea scored against Germany, you know, Robbie Brady against Italy, just that one goal will swing everything. And, you know, would I take 1-0 against Andorra tomorrow? Yeah, just to stop people talking about it. Just to stop talking about it. Because he's really had an unprecedented run of bad luck. And again, a penalty shootout to Slovakia. If Alan Brown's back heel or one of his other chances goes in, we win 1-0. We march on to the playoff final. You could go through on penalties, and now we could be having this discussion 8 or 10 days away from Ireland playing at the Euros, and Stephen Kenny is the best thing since sliced bread, and we're on a totally different trajectory. So I think it's been such a tumultuous time in Irish football, from off the field to on the field, that really the centenary now gives everyone a chance. I think supporters groups, fans, maybe even some in the media, everybody needs to maybe pause, reset, reflect, look back at our history, honor it, learn the lessons, but also more importantly, everyone has to come together who loves Irish football now at the minute. And maybe people need to swallow their pride or give up some power or do something else, or, you know, whatever changes need to be implemented. We can't be, more so than ever, I think everybody in Irish football needs to be unified at the minute, because we really need to make sure that at the end of this year and certainly next year and in the end of a couple of years that we're on an upward curve. My only fear for Stephen Kenny is that he will lay the groundwork and do some really important work, but that results might run out from, if that makes sense.
Someone else will take it and get all credit.
Next manager who comes in will go, listen, I've got a really talented base of squad. It's wider. There's younger players involved. But Stephen's given them that chance, and he's tried to expand it, and he's tried to change the philosophy. And Rome wasn't built in a day. And yeah, results are important. Stephen knows that as well as anyone else. But I just really hope for him that we can get a result or two in the next couple of games, just to set us up for the big 3 games coming up in September.
Yeah, no, well said. I mean, he certainly needs it. Just to one more jersey.
The one.
And it's a very important one. It's and you did actually mention it, and we've actually got the goal that it's from. But look at that. Now, we didn't wear the one on the right. I know that was never worn, but Jesus Christ, that is a absolute worldly of a jersey, the one on the right. And the one on the left, of course, is from a very, very, very famous night, which is probably the best results for Jack Charlton. It was the night where we beat Scotland 1-0 in Hampden Park. I've got the goal here.
Beginning to this contest, 2 Scotsmen together, fouling Frank Stapleton and Malpas come off worst. And that's quickly on, and the goal scored by Mark Lawrenson.
What a player he was. It's his birthday today, actually.
Yeah, birthday day.
Yeah.
When you look at 64, I think.
64, yeah.
When you look at Mark's career again, which was cut short, and I'm not sure how many goals he scored. I think he was playing centre midfield that night. Could be wrong.
Yeah.
But
he
again,
play, in midfield for Jack.
He went and scored again 1-0, 1 goal.
Yeah.
And how did that change the group? How did that change everything? And like I said, you can go back through our history and look at all these games and look at the big moments and the moments we lost. The handball in Paris. 1 goal generally is either 0 to 0 for Ireland. That's been our lot for 100 years. I wish it'd be different.
Our most famous results have always been 1-0, haven't they? Against Holland, McAteer, Italy.
I listed them off. Roy Keane versus Portugal. 1-1, 1 goal. We never really beat teams 3 and 4-0.
No,
we just don't. And people expecting Stephen Kenny's Ireland team to be scoring 3s and 4s, I think is naive. And on the same point, people who are maybe very hard on Mick McCarthy, drawing 1-1 with Denmark and people like that. That's pretty much been our historical lot. You know, we get into a group. We've only won a group once, is it? I think.
Yep, that one, 87.
So only once have we won a group. So
yeah.
where this sort of opinion that we'd be topping groups against two bigger seeds, I don't know what that's literally based on or what that assumption is. Would we like to do it? Yeah. Over 100 years, have we ever done it? No. So again, yes, do we want to aspire to that? Yeah, but one goal will still be king for us for a long time, I think.
I definitely agree. Right, lads, we're going to wrap it up there. Eddie, have you got a release date for Green, White, and Orange just yet?
Yeah, so we've released it for pre-sale yesterday to celebrate the
fantastic
centenary of the Football Association of Ireland. So you can, if you visit IrelandSoccerShirts.com, you can see the homepage, and the link to purchase the book is there. Now the book won't be actually delivered until the 31st of September. We're just still finishing off the final design pieces, but you can pre-order the book now. And I'd like to say a special thanks to LetterTech Ireland in Cork and Frank Kelly down there, who've really backed this project. They've believed in me and they've believed in the project, and they've really bought into what I'm trying to do. And they've brought their skills as a publishing company and a printers to bear. And I'm really, really excited about what the finished product is going to look like. It's going to be a large volume copy book, really, really good quality in terms of the finish and the print. There's going to be over 300 exhibits, I think over 260 action shots from 1921 to 2021. And while it's definitely not the biggest Ireland football shirt collection probably in the world, and it's certainly not the best, I would say it's probably the most complete archive in terms of goalkeeper shirts, tournaments, suits, tracksuits, stemming right the way back from 1921. So I think it's a real collector's piece. It's something that even if you're not a huge Ireland fan yourself, that somebody in your family, niece, nephew, goddaughter, someone for a birthday or Christmas present, I think it will appeal to everyone. And I don't think there's going to be a book like this year, and maybe not ever again. So if you like the Irish football team, and if you have an interest in football shirts and our history, I really hope it's going to appeal to a wider audience.
No, that's fantastic.
I know, Eddie, I know you've said like this is the end, like for your kind of campaign to get the museum up and running. Is that really the case? Are you do you think someone might come out of the woodwork and get it going and get these exhibits in where they deserve to be? Really, you know, I'm passionate for this, as you know, and it's like it's a shame that they just kind of kept locked away.
Yeah, it's it's the end for me. When I started it with one shirt in 2002, the centenary in 2021 was always the end date. Since then, I've met every stakeholder. I've written to everyone I can think of, from politicians to football clubs to sponsors to Dublin City Council to private businesses. I've met with people. I've banged on doors. I've tried to have a social media campaign about it. I just haven't been able to get it over the line, unfortunately. And no, it's definitely the end of the project for me. I think it's a natural conclusion, 1921 to 2021, the centenary, and maybe who knows in the future something might come of it. But no, for me, that's it's time to hang up the shirt.
Yeah, no, it's a shame though in a way that obviously, but it's a great way to finish with the book anyway.
No, I do feel sad about it, and I jokingly said that it's probably a bit like what it must feel like when your children move up and grow up and leave home. You know, you're delighted that you've gotten them that far, and you're really proud of them, but you're gonna miss them, and I'm gonna miss this greatly. It's been very emotional. I still get emotional thinking about it now. It's been a huge part of my life. I'm 42 now, and I'm 19 years doing it, so nearly all of my adult life. But sometimes you just have to know when to hang up the shirt and walk away. But we're finishing on a high, no doubt about it.
Yeah,
the
definitely.
James collection on IrelandSoccerShirts.com is as complete as I can make it. We've got the new book, Green, White, Orange, on the way, and I don't think I could have done any more. So I'm content.
No, fantastic. Well done. I mean, it's a shame. Who knows? Hopefully, in future we'll have a physical Irish football museum. God knows the destroyer of Irish football definitely deserves it. Right, lads, we're going to wrap it up there. Eddie, thank you so much for coming on. Best of luck with the book,
guys. It's been great to chat to you. Right. And Martin,
and we'll
keep up the good work in London.
Yeah, we'll be getting you over to London anyway. We definitely have to get you over to London. So.
We take for granted living here. Certainly, I know I'm very fortunate to live about 5 or 6 miles from the Aviva Stadium, so I can be home within 45 minutes of the game being over. But I know the effort and journey that you guys do to support the team. So every game is an away game for you. So keep up the good work. It's I think we all appreciate the work that you do, and it's brilliant. So fair play to everyone in London and all the supporters clubs who know what it's like to represent this, and ultimately that's what it's all about.
Yeah, I've just seen a few of the comments there from the lads there. John Ward and Ben Phantom are both members of our club. So yeah, it's great to see them supporting and watching tonight as well. So thanks, lads. But yeah, I'm glad you found it interesting.
Lads, we're going to leave it there. Thank you very much, Eddie, for coming on. Best luck with the book. I will certainly be buying that and adding that to my collection. Of course, fortunately, this one's out of print, isn't it?
It is. The first book was called 40 Shades of Green, and that was from 1986 to 2018. That's out of print now. That was very proud of that project. The legend.
A bit of a gate crasher.
The legend.
There you go, Eddie. There.
How are you getting on?
Good. You all right?
The last time I saw him, I think he was wearing this shirt.
Yeah, he was. You were wearing that one, weren't you? Yeah.
Only legends wear that shirt, so you're all right, King.
There you go. All right. You wanted to say hello and be on a podcast, so
no problem. There you go. And funny, we're talking about it. That's who the next generation is about. That young fella in his Ireland shirt with his dad following the team. We only hand the jersey over to people like Keane, so that's a lovely way to finish a lovely chat, lads.
So it's all on you, Keane, right? Yeah. The pressure's on you.
No pressure, buddy.
No pressure.
Right.
Anyway, we're gonna leave it there, lads. Thank you very much for tuning in for this very special edition of the Green Machine podcast. The book is available on the FAI website.
If you go to IrelandSoccerShirts.com.
Sorry, IrelandSoccerShirts.com, and just one more. I've been plugging it all day. Just one more plug there of the website, IrelandSoccerShirts.com. And of course, you can follow the account on Twitter at IrelandSockShirts. And also, that is what that beautiful, massive book is going to look like. So go onto that website, support a fantastic cause. Also, whilst you're at it, you may have noticed I was drinking one of these lovely mugs. I got that from the very good folks at DairyNiceThings.com. So if you go onto their website, you put in Republic of Ireland Collection. Nick is going to kill me for doing this because I didn't talk to him about it. You go on their website, you put in Republic of Ireland Collection, and you get a whole array of things, like really, really cool stuff there. Very, very retro. And lads, I think that's it. We're going to leave it at that. Thank you very much. We got one more comment. Andre, thank you very much.
Oh,
always look positive.
That's our club treasurer in Japan. Great to see him. Commenting, Andre. Good lad.
There you are. a worldwide club. No. Anyway, we're going to leave it there, lads. Come on, you boys in green tomorrow. Hopefully we win 10-0. I'll 1-0. 1-0, Eddie, yeah. We'll do 1-0. Anyway, lads, we'll see you tomorrow. Have a good night, and thank you for tuning in. And come on, you boys in green.
Thanks, Eddie. Cheers, lads. Thanks. Bye.